Hi, welcome. Welcome to the 12-week Healthy Brain Program. We're on week number 9. Can you believe it? So tonight we're going to talk about neuroplasticity, our brain reserves, and optimization, one of my favorite subjects. So as you know, right, our family is going through some brain issue crisis with 2 of our loved ones. Love them very much. And what has been happening to them has happened over the course of time. You know, last couple of years really started to notice things, but then there was a sudden deterioration. And for those of you who've had other losses, right, I'll talk a little bit about we're not guaranteed a tomorrow. Not at all. Most of us are aware of that. But what has really been shown to me is we're not even guaranteed the health that we have for as long as we breathe, especially brain health. Most of us pretty much understand that we'll have some physical decline, a little bit of mental decline, but when it happens suddenly, it really brings it into focus that none of us are guaranteed anything, right? We come to the world with a unique set of talents and skills, right? Our body shape, how tall we are, how short we are, how fast we are, how strong we are. We learn. We all have different experiences, and so we are uniquely us, and it's our responsibility, right, to live our life to the fullest. So I'll start again, right, with brain reserves. Last week I covered stress and how to reduce stress, especially chronic stress, for your optimal health. So this week I want to cover neuroplasticity in your brain reserves and how to optimize your life and thus your brain. So remember, brain reserves, especially cognitive reserves, are what we'll need to make our health span match our lifespan. I want to live fully. I want to live as fully as I can till my very last breath, right? I hope I am climbing and hiking and speaking and writing and doing all of the things that I love to do clear up until my very last days. What I don't want and what I'm working for is to not have my health span, right, deteriorate decades before my lifespan, to where I'm just a living shell, right, with not a lot of cognitive ability, not a lot of memories, not a lot of social interaction. That's what I don't want. What I do want, right, is to live fully to the very last breath. So what is neuroplasticity? So it's defined as the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout your life. At one point, they thought that your neuroplasticity stopped, right, in your young years, probably before you were even teen. But now they know that we can create new neural connections, so we are not destined to brain decline. I want you to know that. You can create new neural connections throughout your entire life, and that's our goal. So neuroplasticity allows the neurons, or nerve cells in the brain, to compensate for injury and disease, such as when you have a stroke. You can relearn, right? That would be the rehabilitation, to activate other parts of the brain to take over what the stroke damaged. And it allows you to adjust your activities in response to new situations or changes in your environment. So imagine, right, that you're just thrown into something new. You work for a company and all of a sudden it's closing. You have to go into a whole new industry. Your neuroplasticity is what will help you to adjust. Let's say that you've been, I don't know, a motorcycle mechanic, right, Zachary? A motorcycle mechanic for 50 years, and all of a sudden you have to do something else. You have to move inside and be an accountant, right, or some kind of office person now. If you have neuroplasticity, you may be able to make the adjustment. If you don't, right, you're going to fail. So that's what neuroplasticity allows you to do in a changing environment. New situations. Let's say you get lost when you're driving and you don't have GPS. What are you going to do? That's your neuroplasticity, plus your resiliency and your resourcefulness. So in layman's terms, consider that your neural pathways are like roads or highways on which information travels from and to areas of the cerebral cortex for storage and recall. So again, imagine that your neural pathways are the roads and the highways that this information travels on. Helps you, right, to recall anything that you store there. Helps you to store what you're currently doing. So as you know, when you have somebody who has dementia or Alzheimer's, they lack short-term memory. They never make those connections any longer. You can ask them what they had for breakfast or dinner or who visited them just yesterday, and they can't remember. They didn't create a new highway, right? So they didn't store it, therefore they couldn't recall it. And then of course you know that when they forget people's names, sometimes they forget people, right? It's the fact that their highways, their roads are being deteriorated with this brain disease. So neural pathways allow you to recall and store information on anything and everything, from what things are to how to do things, right? To how to operate the microwave or how to operate the TV, to memories and other processes such as creativity, right? Do you want to paint? Do you want to write? Do you want to sing? So how does neuroplasticity show up in your life? It makes your brain extremely resilient. When I have clients, I really coach them into knowing that they are resilient already. They've already been resilient through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of challenges. They've overcome much in their life. They are resilient. That resiliency gives them resourcefulness, right? They know how to do things. They know how to adjust. They know how to make things work. It's also the process by which all permanent learning takes place in your brain, such as playing a musical instrument or mastering a different language. We'll talk about that because both of those, right, give you a lot of brain reserve. Thinking about doing it, just got to tell you. So neuroplasticity also enables people to recover from stroke, injury, and birth abnormalities. Hi, Rhonda, welcome. Neuroplasticity helps people overcome autism, ADD, ADHD, learning disability, and other brain deficits. So again, when some portions of these people's brains are not working, other parts take over, right, and create the abilities that they need, the abilities they're lacking. Neuroplasticity also helps you pull out of depression and addictions, right? Addictions usually are in the brain. So for you to get out of that neuroplasticity, right, that resiliency, highly effective. So here's how it works. A busy brain, right, there's a lot of B's in here. A busy brain gets more blood flow since it needs more oxygen and glucose. So, right, your body knows what sources are requiring more. The delivery method is blood. Right? So your busy brain, which as we talked about earlier on in the program, is one of your most, it's like a energy hog, right? It uses most of the oxygen and the glucose, right, to function. So the busy brain gets more blood flow. That's why your vascular health is highly important. Neural connections that are relatively inactive will wither away. Right? If you don't use it, you'll lose it. And it is efficient if it's something that you don't need. Right? So I don't need to know how to play the flutophone anymore. I learned it in, I'm thinking, 3rd grade. That one can go away. I'm all right with that. Probably never going to utilize that again, right? So since 3rd grade, that was a long time ago, 40-something years ago, haven't played one since. Those connections are most likely gone, other than, right, my memory that I did play one. But how is gone. So neural connections that are relatively inactive will wither away. So survival of the busiest is most used, right? So the more you use a certain piece of information or a skill set, the larger that neural pathway becomes. Think of it as a multi-lane expressway. So I talk to my clients, right, in changing patterns, changing behaviors and habits. That the old habit, let's say you've done it for a long time, the neural pathway is more like maybe the size of a straw, right? Imagine a straw. But the new activity is about as fine as your hair. And you have to do it over and over and over to make that one bigger and the old one smaller. Remember, if it's not used, it will wither away. That's how you change your brain to change your life. You create new neural pathways to the habits of health that you do want. The habits of positivity, self-love, all of these things that I teach, those are all neural pathways. So if you're not used to being positive, let's say that you were a negative person or a victim in the victim role quite often, that neural pathway would be quite large. You accessed it very often. But the new one, the new positivity, would be relatively small, right? Like the size of your hair. All right, so information that we rarely use and skills that we allow to dwindle experience a decline in the neural pathway. So consider that the synapses leading to where that information is stored is seldom used. And so then that road becomes more like an overgrown dirt road. And eventually the brain will just clear it away. It'll clear away the unused neural pathways. They call that synaptic pruning. And it is efficient, right? We don't want to store junk. We don't want to store things we don't use. But this is where, right, we're going to use your prefrontal cortex to determine what you do want. You do want your executive function. You do want your cognitive abilities. It's okay, right, to get rid of the flutophone. But we don't want it to get rid of how to operate our own stove, or our TV, or our telephone, or, right, who our friends are, who our family are. Okay, so neurons that fire together wire together. And Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. That's how you create that new neural pathway. Let's say it's a new neural pathway of positivity. You practice that all the time so that those neurons fire together and wire together and continue to grow that connection. So every time we learn something new, our brain structure changes. Our brain structure is never the same. New neural pathways are physically created in order to store and retrieve the new information. So if you ever go online, you can Google it. There's probably YouTube videos, there'd be Wikipedia, all of that will show new neural connections firing and then wiring together. I highly encourage you to do it. So this part of the brain, this plasticity, is the quality of being easily shaped or molded, and you want that. You do not want an inflexible brain. So as older people get older and older and stop doing new things, and they only do certain things certain ways, right? They get, what do we say? They're set in their ways. They're not easily shaped or molded, and they begin to lose that plasticity, that flexibility. So I talk a lot about being flexible in your body, your mind, and your spirit. It's absolutely healthier for you. There are certain things, right, that we believe strongly in, maybe our faith or other things. Not sure, I'm not going to get into politics or anything, but yeah, we believe in things. But we do want to be flexible. Flexibility keeps us young. Flexibility keeps us healthy. Hello, Courtney. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So, the genes inside neurons, right, I'll talk a little bit more about that, get more or less active with the use of the neuron. So, example, people who routinely relax have improved expression of genes that calm down stress reactions, making them more resilient. This is a state of being. I highly recommend Dr. Joe Dispenza. He has You Are the Placebo, Becoming Supernatural, Change Your Brain to Change Your Life. This is true. We express these genes differently. So people who are routinely relaxed and calm, stable, feel safe will express genes that also calm down stress reactions, making them more resilient. We know these people. These are the ones we turn to in crisis, right? They're the ones that keep it all together. Some of us, and maybe me included, I'm one of those people who just freezes in a crisis. We don't have those genes. Right? We're not the step it up and tell everybody what they need to do. It's okay. It's not good or bad. It's just how we're wired, right? That's actually how we're wired. But the opposite is also true. So take, for instance, people who are always stressed out and always worrying. Their gene expression is geared more towards anxiety and depression and worry, right? And they look for the worst case scenario and they see the worst in every situation. They're wired that way. But here's where it gets really tricky. They experience downgraded genes that lead to aging and decline of the body and the mind. We can actually stress ourselves into an earlier grave. So I want to say that again. People who are consistently negative, consistently worried, anxious, fearful, doubtful, right? They express genes that lead to more anxiety, more depression, more negativity. The glass is half empty, not half full. Right? They're more fearful of situations all around. And they express those genes. They're wired that way. That's why you can have 10 people witnessing the same event and they will all come away differently. They're wired differently. But what you don't want is to express genes, right, that lead to aging and decline. So what do? First of all, do something new all the time. New things. Make sure you know that they're new. Be aware when you're doing something new. I'm a lifelong learner, so that part, right, is okay. But I need to do other things, such as maybe learning a second language, taking painting classes, music classes, cooking classes, yoga. Yoga would be good for me. It's good for my body, but it's also something way outside of my comfort zone, something I wouldn't normally do. Maybe dance classes, right? So do something new. Make sure they're complex. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. The more complex it is, and the more challenging it is, the more it uses different brain functions. So imagine that you have islands in your brain, and those roadways connect them. So you have your motor island, right, that controls how your body moves. You have your language island. You have your emotional island. You have all of these different islands, and you need to, when you're doing new activities, challenge them all. And I'll talk a little bit about how you can make sure when you're trying something new, you begin to really activate all of your brain systems, all of your functioning systems. Hi, Connie. I'm so glad you're here. So use multiple brain functions. Incorporate social interactions, emotional connections. Right? Memories are caused by the emotions. We remember if we're happy when something happened. We went to a wedding and right, we got oxytocin, that love chemical. We got dopamine. It was a wonderful experience. Or if we go somewhere and we had, the car broke down, we had an accident, got hurt. Those emotions are what create that memory. You remember it because of the pain you felt. So know that when you incorporate the emotions, and I would, highly suggest that they're happy ones, that you make the memory stronger. You also activate other islands, other brain functions. So utilize both hemispheres of the brain as well. We'll talk about that. Many of the activities that you can do, such as learning a second language, activate both hemispheres of your brain. So if you're not aware, the left brain is your analytical, logical brain. It's detail-oriented, works on perception, it's ordered sequencing, logical, right? 1, 2, 3, ABC. It's rational thought, it's verbal, it's cautious. It's a planning hemisphere. Math and science, logic, right field vision, right? The left side of your brain controls the right side of your body. So it controls the right field of vision and the right side of your motor skills. Now, right brain hemisphere is intuitive. It's thought, holistic perception, random sequencing, emotional thought, nonverbal, adventurous, impulse, creative, writing and art, housed in the right hemisphere, imagination, left field vision, and left side motor skills. You want to use both. So let's take an example and how we're going to incorporate all of those. So try a new recipe. Love trying new recipes. I don't know about you, but I do. I really like trying new recipes. Like doing it, but until this class, I didn't think about how I could make it more maximum beneficial for my brain. So try something totally out of your comfort zone. I haven't done Vietnamese or Indian cuisine. Those are two that I could try. Try a recipe that is complex and has some challenging techniques. So a souffle, right, would be a challenging technique. I don't know that I could pull that off, but I would try, right? And there's no failure. No failure. Here's how you make it more brain beneficial. Do research on the recipe. Where did the recipe come from? What's the country of origin? The history of that country, its people, and the foods of the regions. Right? So it's a recipe. You're going to cook dinner. You're utilizing a different part of your brain. You're getting some new information, and you're tying it to an activity that you do all the time. So you're changing up the activity. We'll talk a little bit about that later in the program. And this is something I always emphasize with my clients who are wanting to improve their health. Covered this many times. Do research on the health benefits of the ingredients. Know the benefits of the vegetables. Know the benefits of the protein and the fiber, what vitamins and minerals you're receiving when you eat this meal. And here's why. Your subconscious is in control of your body. Your subconscious mind controls the autonomic nervous system, controls your digestion, your immune system, your regenerative and repairing systems. And it believes, right? That's why hypnosis works. That's why when you're watching a scary movie, you jump. It's not true for you, but your subconscious mind doesn't know that to be true. Your subconscious mind is the source of a placebo effect. We've heard about people who have miraculous healings. We've heard of the placebo effect, how somebody got a sugar pill but still got the cure. It's in the control of the subconscious mind. As I've talked before, your subconscious mind is 90% of the power of your mind. Your logical mind is 5 to 10%. So feed that subconscious all of these benefits so that you give it more power to make you healthier. Welcome, Jane. Thank you for coming on. So know the benefits. If you're eating cucumbers, right, what are the vitamins and minerals? The fiber, the water content. Broccoli has iron and protein and other needed ingredients. Bell peppers, apples, whatever you are cooking with, know the health benefits and do the research. And then talk about it. Tell your family. When you share, we know that when you teach, you also learn. You strengthen your own knowledge when you teach what you know. Same is true here. Make those connections in that subconscious mind to health, and it'll positively impact your body health. but also it's improving your brain health. You're learning. You are learning. Let's see, where am I? Okay, so be aware and believe. The belief is the power in the placebo. So believe that the broccoli is healthy. Your body will utilize it in a more healthy way. Also helps you to stay positive. So anything that you can do to stay positive is good for your body, your brain, and your spirit. So social and emotional aspects of this exercise, trying a new recipe. So making memories is the brain's way of creating new neural connections. So utilizing all of the brain's functional systems is how you create redundancy in the memory centers. We talked about redundancy. If your favorite song from the 80s, right, I was an 80s child, comes on, you'll have many different avenues of recalling that song, right? It played during the first dance, it played during a kiss, it played during a breakup, it played when you were, graduating. However many avenues you have to that song creates redundancy, so that if one of the pathways, one of the roads or highways is damaged, let's say by the amyloid plaque of Alzheimer's or a stroke, your brain will look for other avenues to get to that memory. So you want as many as you can have. That's why people with dementia and Alzheimer's can remember things that happened 60 years ago, but they can't remember what they had for breakfast. They have multiple avenues, multiple roadways to that memory. They've recalled it so many times and told it in so many ways to so many people that that neural pathway is stronger than something that hasn't been accessed. So on this recipe to create new neural connections, and remember, they'll wither and die if we don't use them. They'll wither and die if we don't have multiples. So you want to use all of your brain's functions, all of the islands, create all of those roads with something as simple as creating a new recipe, cooking a new recipe. So add the social and emotional systems. When you do this, invite friends and family over to share the experience. Imagine having, Indian cuisine. Let's go with that one. Having Indian cuisine, and you invite family and friends over and you ask them to bring a dish from that country. Maybe you ask them to dress in the traditional dress and bring some knowledge with them. So all of you are sharing and learning something about this country, something about these people. Make sure, if you're the host, that you have a lot of information to share to make this experience more fun, more exciting, more educational. Education is fun. Children love to learn. Adults do too if we do it well. So talk about it. Reinforce the information. Make the emotional connections. So some of the emotions of the Indian people, right, would be how they were so discriminated against, so kept down until they got their own freedom, right? Talk about Mahatma Gandhi. That'll bring up a lot of emotions. So then you have an experience, not just a new recipe. You have an experience. You have a memory. So make it fun. Talk about the awe, right? The amazing things of this country of origin and the people. Make sure you have an emotional attachment. Because the more important it is to you, the stronger the memory will be. So have an emotional attachment. So that's just one example of doing a very simple activity, but utilizing all of your brain functions and creating new neural connections. But remember, you got to use it or you'll lose it. So if you guys are liking this so far, hit the like or love button just to let me know you're still on. And I'm going to start talking about learning a new language. It's one of the best things you can do for brain health. Bilingual and multilingual people have stronger brains overall. They have more gray matter and they have more neural connections. They start that way. So children easily learn second and third languages. It's a little harder when we're older, because understanding language is one of the hardest things the brain does. makes it the ultimate brain exercise. So learning a foreign language increases the size of the brain's language centers and the hippocampus. And remember, we talked about the hippocampus. This is the area of the brain responsible for forming, storing, and retrieving memories. So learning a new language increases the number of neural pathways between parts of the brain. Imagine language. How many areas of the brain does it utilize? Emotion, social, communication, visual, auditory, your mouth, right? I don't know what that one would be called. So it utilizes a lot of parts of your brain. The sound. Why does it activate your mouth? The sound is important. How you use your tone, how you pronounce the word makes a big difference. We know that, especially in the English language. Language utilizes both hemispheres of the brain, the left analytical logical process and the right emotional and social process. Learning a new language exercises your hearing muscle. You'll change how you hear. You'll start picking up on variations in sound, and your attentiveness to detail will improve. You'll begin to compare the new language to your current, old language, I guess you would say, your language of choice. You'll start to compare. You'll start to notice the differences. That's your attention to detail. All languages are musical. They are. It's how we reflect, how we pronounce our words. So syncing your ears with your mouth makes you both the player and the instrument. You will hear when you say it wrong. I know a few Spanish words, not very many, and I say them wrong, and I hear it, and I know it's not right because I hear Mark say it, and when I say it, it doesn't come out the same. That's utilizing, right, all of my brain. That's utilizing my auditory plus my vocal attention centers. You learn about the culture of the language of the people you're studying. You absolutely do. There isn't any language program that doesn't teach you about the culture. You need to know about the culture of the people to understand the language, to understand the different tones, the different inflections. So when you start learning about the culture, expect your curiosity to increase 12-fold in all areas of your life. As you begin to learn, you begin to become more curious again. That's why children their brains are so plastic, so moldable, so shapeable. Their curiosity is through the roof, right? It's off the charts. As we grow older, we lose some of that curiosity. We get stuck in the day-to-day business of life. We get stuck in the habits and the routines. Children are not that habitual. They'll try anything. Their curiosity is one of the ways that their brain is very, very plastic, very malleable. They're playing along in a playground, and all of a sudden they see a bug. They'll go investigate it. Do you? Most likely not. I know I don't. Unless it's a butterfly, then I'll go chase it down. So learning to count, I found this one interesting. Learning to count and perform basic math operations in another language. I didn't think about that, but they all do count differently. Will grow your logical and conceptual abilities because different languages express numbers and the time of day in unique ways. And this is generally very puzzling. So it pushes you, right, to really look at how you do this. You'll think backwards and sideways and upside down, and in some cases completely opposite to your norms. In Spanish, the languages are what we would consider backwards, right? They say them in a different order. Makes sense, though, when you know how to speak Spanish. Imagine that it's opposite to what's normal if you only have one language. So there was another interesting one. New language retrains your eyes. So there are some words that are similar in both languages. right? A lot of our words come from Latin derivatives. So it's similar in both languages, and the brain will make that connection. It'll look at it and say, I bet this word means this. But then there's the matter of completely new character sets where there's nothing common. And this challenges you with even greater logical arrangements. Then there's the social aspect as you get to speak to people in the new language. So you do make social connections. It will change. You will exercise your memory due to the use of retention and recall of the new vocabulary and phrases. And again, especially with the language, you have to use it or you'll lose it. So we talked about the benefits of exercise. And when I did, I said to make it challenging because just the general treadmill or the exercise bike, which is what I'm using now, doesn't activate my brain, activates my body and is still healthy, but it does not activate all the brain centers. It doesn't require any coordination. It doesn't require any strategy or thinking, right? I don't have to think. I can listen to my hypnosis CDs and pedal along. So when you look at a new sport, consider bringing in a challenging sport, one that uses the brain's functioning systems. So again, exercise in general will increase the number of brain cells. So exercise is always good, but you can make it better. So learn a new sport that activates the parts of the brain called the motor cortex. And this controls movement. So again, think strategy, basketball, football, golf, tennis. It strengthens that part of the brain called the motor cortex, and that controls how we move. But I'd like you to think about the benefits of this improving, right? This motor cortex improving as we age. Because what are some of the common traits of elderly people? The way they move, their loss of balance, they shuffle, they're hunched over. So imagine that their motor cortex is deteriorating. So you would want, I know I do, to strengthen this. So Tai Chi, yoga, any of these are good. Basketball, golf, tennis, all excellent. Even skiing, because you have to anticipate, right, moguls and other avenues. Plus, you have to use your brain to make your muscles work. So learning a new activity such as juggling, and they really highly suggest juggling, and I've tried it, it's hard, increases the volume of gray matter in the parts of the brain related to movement. So something is not even as strenuous can be beneficial, such as juggling. So learning the new motions of a new sport, like 1, it's new. 2, it's challenging. 3, we haven't done it before, so we have to really think it through. Requires strategy, or a sport that requires thought to perform, such as aerobic activities, right? Activate something called myelination in the brain. And myelination is the process by which the parts of the brain cell are insulated, So myelination is the process by which parts of a brain cell are insulated so that the messages between neurons can proceed more quickly and smoothly. We need that. If we don't have that, the connections can never be made and the information isn't processed and moved. But stagnant activities, like I mentioned, the treadmill and the stationary bike, does not produce this myelination. So make it a brand new team sport. You would add in the challenge along with the complexity and along with the social and emotional connections, right? Team sports activate everything. You have the social aspect, you have the emotional aspect, right? So our social connections and skills. But what's emotional about a team sport? Embarrassment, anger, triumph, friendship, sympathy, empathy, all of the above. absolutely activates our emotional centers for, good emotions and a little bit of the more lower emotions such as anger or sadness or failure, right? So pick a new sport that fits your current health status. Yoga would be good for me. And then think about trying new activities, joining new fitness groups. For me to do yoga and to join a yoga class, right, would really stretch me. Hi Mona, thanks for coming. Joining something like that would stretch me in many, many ways. But it would be good for me. I would have new social connections. I would learn new activities, right? I've never done yoga. And yoga has a component to it of history and stress reduction and inner work. I think that's why it calls to me. And all of this will improve your brain health. I know it'll improve mine. So hit the like or love button if you guys are still on. Let me know if you have any questions or if you agree. I would love to hear from you. So hobbies. Hobbies are a great way to stretch your brain functions. Imagine taking art classes, painting, sketching, or music classes. And I'll touch on this one a little bit because it has some real benefits. It does. It's almost like learning a second language. Thank you all. Love you so much. So restoring a classic car from the ground up involves many of the learning centers. Imagine, you have science, you have mechanics, you have math, you have logic, all of those things, analysis, it's all in there. And probably if it were me, there'd be some emotions in there as I got really, really aggravated because things didn't work. So stretch your imagination and pick a new hobby. Hobbies are one of life's greatest gifts. I'll talk about life optimization later. Hobbies are one of them. It's a way for us to have creative expression, and we are creative beings. So all of them can fit this criteria, but I'll cover music because the research is compelling on how important and how beneficial learning music can be. It's right up there with learning a second language. Musicians have superior working memory, auditory skills, and cognitive flexibility. Remember that flexibility. So flexibility and neuroplasticity are strongly linked. Musicians have a larger corpus callosum, which is the band of nerve fibers that transfers information between the two hemispheres of the brain. I want you to pay attention to that, right? There's a band of nerve fibers that transfers information between the two hemispheres of the brain. Imagine walking, right? The left side controls the right motor skills and the right side controls the left motor skills. What if you didn't have this band of nerve fibers? So strengthen it. Music does that. It soothes stress and releases dopamine. Remember, dopamine is the feel-good chemical. It also releases oxytocin, the love chemical. We all know what music does for us when we listen. And it's highly beneficial in those areas, but learning it and learning how to play, read music, transfer that right to your motor skills so that you can play the guitar, play the piano. Highly beneficial for your brain. Strengthens your bonds with others. You can definitely make this social and emotional, right? Your garage band or the group that you play with. Strengthens memory and reading skills. Yes, Mona, I know. I saw your picture. I'm so happy when I saw this information because then I knew. You're strengthening your brain. Musicians can process multiple things at once. Possibly this is because playing music forces you to process multiple senses at once. Your ears, your fingers, what you see, how you read the music. This can lead to superior multisensory skills. Music increases blood flow to your brain. You want this. Blood flow to the brain is good. Remember, the brain is a very hungry organ and it uses most of your oxygen and glucose levels. Musical training strengthens the brain's executive function. And as we've learned previously, your executive function covers critical tasks such as processing and retaining information, controlling behavior, and problem solving. So these are just some really simple things you can do daily. I'm sorry. I can't even read my own stuff right today. There are some really simple things that you can do daily with many of your ordinary tasks to change them up and make them more challenging. So think about ways that you can change things, because what happens is we become mindless, we become habitual, we become inflexible, we do things the same way over and over and over again. Do you drive to work the exact same way? Now, I'm kind of a rebel there. I wasn't very consistent. I'm not consistent. It's a cursing and a blessing, right? But if you drive exactly the same, you leave your house at the same time, you get to work at the same time, you park in the same spot, you drive the same route, that's not benefiting your brain. How about how you clean your house? Now, I will tell you that I do that one pretty much the same. I start in one room and I continue to move through. Is it efficient? You bet. But does that help me make new neural connections? It doesn't. I don't make any. None. I wash dishes the same, do my clothing the same. I always wash the whites first, and then the mid colors, and then the work clothes. I fold them the same. Pull out all of the towels and washcloths. I separate Mark's clothes and then mine. Then I do the underwear and socks, right? It's very habitual. Effective, yes. Sometimes we want efficiency. Sometimes we need to change it up. And how about this? Do you get up the same every morning? Same time? How many times do you hit the snooze? Right? Do you shower the same? I know I do. And do you dress the same in the morning? Right? Do you have a routine? Here's the key. What happens when your routine is altered? What happens when things don't go well? Does it throw you off? Then you know that you may need a little neuroplasticity in there, right? You may need a little change. So I use this with my clients as well to break the mindless activities such as eating and smoking, negativity, and more. Many times we do this mindlessly. It's a habit. It just happens. We don't even think about it. That's your clue. We don't even think about it. All right, so on these mindless activities, do things to challenge yourself. Drive to work on a different route. If you can't be late, let's say that you cut it close, I always did, or I was late, then leave 5 minutes earlier. Guess what? You'll see new people on the road. You will. You'll hit the lights differently. Leave 10 minutes earlier, and then do something different when you get to the office, get to your job. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself in any way that you can at work. Challenge yourself. You spend a lot of time there. 8 hours of your waking day, 5 days a week on average. You spend a lot of time there. Challenge yourself to do something new, learn something new. Maybe cross-train. Do something that challenges you. Bring attention to what you are doing. And break those patterns of not stretching your brain while living most of your awake hours, right? So even how you cook, how you clean, how you drive to work, how you shower in the morning. So if you get up at a certain time, get up earlier. Read something inspirational. That is absolutely challenging you. It is stretching you. It is shaking up your routines. I'm not saying be late. Right? Not saying that, even though I was. All right, so change your regular routines. And again, I do this a lot with people who smoke or overeat. Use your non-dominant hand. If you have a watch, put it on the non-dominant hand or the opposite hand so that you're actually paying attention when you have to look for it. You'll find yourself putting it on the same way every morning. Let's say it's your watch or your Fitbit. As soon as you're aware, put it on the other hand. Right? It'll change things for you. Welcome, Valerie. I hope you can catch the first part. Do it differently. Now, if you're a smoker, smoking with your non-dominant hand will absolutely draw attention to what you're doing. I say to make it a friend, not to demonize it, but be aware that you're doing it. For me, it wasn't smoking, it was things like eating potato chips. I could do that mindlessly while I was watching TV. Be aware of what you're doing. It'll challenge your brain. But the moment you're aware, you can take corrective actions, right, for your health. So if you're trying to change an old habit into a new, healthier habit, using your non-dominant hand will help you quite a bit. It makes you aware of what you're doing. So change up your regular routines to create new neural pathways with new experiences. So even if you get out of bed on a different side, yeah, that one I was like, not sure. Changing machines at the gym and running a different route. So build and strengthen neural pathways while doing everyday activities. Again, by switching the hands you use, the time you do it, the order in which you do it in. So it might feel awkward, and that's what you want, because it forces your brain to use new neural routes. And then it will get easier as your brain creates these new pathways and adjusts to the switch, making you what? More resilient, okay? More neuroplastic. Again, you can adjust to changes. So even how you brush your teeth, comb your hair, put on your socks, how you use the remote control. Here was a funny one, how you hold your purse. I tried it. I put it back. I'm not sure what I'll do. That one is really odd, I'll tell you. Things aren't where they need to be, and it's really difficult to get, but I guess that's good. Okay, flex a sense. Loved this one. By restricting senses that you normally use to perform everyday tasks. For instance, have a nonverbal communication night when you share a meal with someone. Meaning all you can do is smile or wink or nod or motion. Yeah, look into each other's eyes and see if you can read that other person. Close your eyes when you get dressed. Take a shower with your eyes closed. Turn off the lights and feel your way to the bathroom. So according to the Franklin Institute, performing everyday tasks with fewer senses promotes activating underused neural pathways. As you do that, you'll feel things, you'll sense things. You have to think about it. You might have to smell, you may have to feel, let's say shampoo and conditioner. You may have to feel it to know which one is which. So it absolutely will activate those underused neural pathways. We all know that we've heard that people who are missing one of their senses, whether it's sight or sound, all of the other ones are highly activated and more sensitive, so that they have what they need to survive. You can do that and still keep all of your senses. So use one of those, all of them, in a different activity. Sorry, I'm very tongue-tied tonight. I need brain health. So bulk up your brain by performing 2 different sensory activities at the same time. For instance, listen to music and smell flowers. Listen to the rain and tap your finger. I guess that's like patting your tummy and rubbing your head or something. Performing multiple sensory activities at the same time stimulates your brain to create new neural connections. So involve all 5 senses if you can in any experience, and it will stimulate and wake up the brain. So listen to some beautiful music, taste something delicious, look at something amazing, touch something incredibly soft, and light a scented candle for a pleasing aroma to smell. All of that would heighten all of your sensory memory and awareness. So think. It allows your dendrites to grow. And dendrites are part of those branches that are the neural pathways that interconnect your brain cells. So thinking increases the number of your neural connections, your neural pathways. So it doesn't mean learning. It's actually thinking. So think about your thoughts. Humans are the only mammals who are aware of what they're thinking. We're the only ones. We are aware of our own thoughts. We're aware of our awareness. Think about your feelings. As you're feeling them, think about them. Think about a character in a story. Take some time instead of just passing through and think about the character in the story. Think about a painting or something in nature. So reflecting, thinking, feeling, and connecting all of that. So those are some new ones. These are ones that we've heard about before, such as crossword puzzles, Sudoku, these other ones, the normal ones that they suggest for seniors. But crossword puzzles really are an effective memory exercise. Other puzzles are also beneficial. So the American Health Assistance Foundation and the Alzheimer's Disease Research Foundation recommend playing Sudoku to exercise the brain and help with memory and cognitive functioning. Playing card games regularly, such as poker, hearts, rummy, even Go Fish, exercises the brain and may delay memory loss associated with aging and dementia. Chess is a strategy game that can boost your memory and cognitive ability. So any game that involves strategy will exercise the brain. So again, this one, because you don't have, you have another person playing with you, there is that element of lack of control, right? You don't control the other person. You don't control the moves. You do have to strategize because there's multiple moves available. And you have to strategize and think about, right, thinking what he may do, that next person. So the brain does need daily workouts, absolutely needs daily workouts. If you know elderly people, their routines don't change. They don't get much daily workout. They don't get much workout at all. So their days, especially Monday through Friday when everybody's working, may be exactly the same until somebody comes to visit. Think about that. Reading exercises your brain and helps in word recall. So reading the newspaper, books, or magazines has been shown to provide a brain boost. And in a memory and aging study done at the Mayo Clinic, they found that engaging in cognitive activities such as reading can prevent future memory loss. That's what we want. There was another study that found that seniors who played games, worked on the computer, or participated in crafts such as pottery or quilting had a 30 to 50% decrease in memory loss compared to people who did not participate. Now I would add the other aspects of those techniques that I spoke about, right? The challenge, the social interconnection, just to make them more brain beneficial. So make them more challenging. Stretch yourself to learn and improve. So for chess, for instance, would be a stretch for me. But I might go and research, right, how it was created, what the pieces mean, why they were what they were. Why is it a knight? Why is it a pawn? Why is it called a pawn? There is a lot of information that I could learn about the game of chess that doesn't involve even how to play. Make a social. Chess would be with one person, but I might join a chess club so that there's multiple people. That could include emotional aspects as I learn and meet and get to know new people. Do them in a new exotic location and learn about that location. So it'll make the memory even more vivid and will add more learning to the experience. So chess in Tahiti, I'm there, right? Both would be new worlds for me, and I would learn a lot about both. So stretch, yoga in the Bahamas, okay, I can do that too, right? I like exotic locations. Join someone else's card group. Let's say that you do bridge or poker. Join somebody else's group and learn about the new people. Ask questions, swap recipes, share. All right, the recipe for good mental exercise is variety. Don't get stuck in the same thing. Right? Excessive specialization is not the best strategy for long-term brain health. If the only game you play is chess, and you know it so well that it doesn't stretch you or challenge you, it's not the best for your brain health. Not that you don't want to do it, but do some other games as well. So stimulate the multiple functions of the brain. Create a mental workout similar to your physical workout. Right? So change it up. Do it differently. Compose it of multiple structures with multiple functions. Challenge. The goal is to expose yourself to increasing levels of challenge. Jumping out of an airplane would challenge me. Riding a roller coaster would challenge me. Again, yoga, painting, speaking in public. All of those are challenges. Make sure it's a task that doesn't become routine or too easy, because then you need to change it up a little bit. And novelty, try new things, things you've never done before, things you wouldn't even think you were interested in. And it's okay to ask a partner to do it with you, absolutely. Again, that social and emotional connection. You want to use the prefrontal cortex. You want to exercise that. So learn new cognitive challenges, right? Master new cognitive challenges. So that leads me to the last part of tonight's program, which is optimization. And I'm talking about your life optimally. Isn't that why we're here? I want to live an optimal life, full of gratitude and optimism. I journal about it, I teach it. But isn't that why we're here? I don't know of anybody who said, oh, I just want to sit in front of the TV and wait till I die. I want to live that way for 30 or 40 years. We don't. Happens to some people in the end of their life that's all they have left. I don't want that to be me. I don't know about you, but I want to live optimally. And again, I want my health span to match my lifespan so that I can live optimally. So activities and things that are good for your brain are good for your quality of life. If I joined a yoga group, absolutely, it would improve the quality of my life. If I learned chess and actively did that, it would improve the quality of my life. It would be living optimally. So imagine exploring places. As most of you know, I like to travel. Don't get to do it much, but I want to. It's on my bucket list. But I'm talking about even exploring in your own backyard. Do the research, because I bet you only know about what's available, about half of what's around you in your own community. So where I live, right, the sand dunes and the Stations of the Cross and the Rio Grande Railroad, the narrow gauge railroad out of Antietam. And then there's all kinds of places. There's some historic places. There's a bat cave that I've never been to. There's an ice cave somewhere above Creed that I've never been to. Don't know, as hot as it was now, if it's still full of ice, but there's all kinds of waterfalls that I've never been to. Wheeler Geological Area, right? There is so much in your own backyard. I don't care where you live, you probably have not explored it all. Why? Because we get stuck. We get stuck in that routine, Monday through Friday. Weekends are for what? Cleaning the house and possibly a day off. There is so much to explore in your own backyard. But do the research, because that's where the brain health comes in, right? Do the research. Find the history. Find where it is. Imagine having to find it on a map or by GPS coordinates. That will stretch you. Get out of your comfort zone and go somewhere where you've never been before. Do you get tired of the same restaurants in your town? Well, guess what? Other towns have them too. Go to theirs. Try it out. Meet new people. Imagine meeting new people from different backgrounds with different interests. Imagine what you can learn, but also what you can share with them and make those new social connections. So, if I joined a knitting group or the yoga group or a different church or anything, support group, right? Different backgrounds with different interests. It would absolutely stretch my brain. It would. Brain health. Imagine enriching your life with the beauty of the arts. I don't know about all of you, but I think most of you have done the painting class in Alamosa. It's fun. I enjoy it. Probably not going to sell my paintings. That's okay. I did them for me. So painting, learning music, crafts. I love crafts. I really do. They're all stimulating. But here's something else. They provide for creative release, creative expression, because we are all creative beings. We are. Some of us are storytellers and writers, speakers, singers, painters. We all have creative expression, even things that aren't normally considered art, such as welding and mechanicking and building. All of those things are very creative. We all have that within us. Most of us just don't know what we're creative in. Again, learning a new language, how challenging. But can you imagine how accomplished and proud and exhilarated you would be if you mastered it? I know for me, I'd be really happy if I could even learn it at a conversational level. I don't even know if I really care if I have to be able to read it and write it. If I could just speak it, I would really be happy. And all of this leads me to how you live, how you see the world and your place in it. All of this is the fabric of your life, all of it, the threads in your tapestry. And as I've come to know, none of us are guaranteeing anything. We aren't. Life isn't fair, but it was never meant to be. It wasn't, and it doesn't need to be enjoyed. It's not equal. None of us come to the world with equal abilities, equal backgrounds, or upbringing, or life experiences. Some are tall, some are short, some are fast, some are strong, some are smart, some are more athletically inclined, right? We all come with different abilities. Doesn't have to be equal. It was never meant to be. Doesn't have to be fair. It wasn't meant to be. Things happen. Different things happen to different people, both good and bad. It's what makes us unique. And no tapestry is the same. No tapestry is the same. It's unique as well. Our life is unique just like we are. So know that whatever you were given is the ability to use these things to uniquely create your own life. Again, it's uniquely yours. And to have and to share and to experience from your own set of unique skills, talents, and abilities. Because we're not promised another tomorrow. We are not. And most of us are keenly aware of that because we have all suffered loss of loved ones. So we're not promised a tomorrow. But neither are we promised that we'll have the same brain abilities we have today in our later years, right? We are not guaranteed that we're going to have this same brain for as long as we breathe. The truth is, it's your responsibility, and only you can live your life to the fullest. Nobody can make me lose weight. Nobody can make me eat well. Nobody can make me exercise. It's my responsibility. It's also my responsibility to live a life as fully as I can. I have been given so many unique things to make that work. I live in a beautiful location. Half of the tourist attractions I haven't even seen or experienced. That's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to have social connections. My responsibility, right, to seek out challenging things. It's all within my abilities. I'll bring my own unique self to it, making it a unique experience for me. So again, live your life optimally. It's the only one you have. Live it until you take your last breath, but live it fully, live it optimally. And you can, you absolutely can. Because you are here and you're watching this, it's not too late. You have time to put into place the things that you need for your own health. Because remember, again, if you're watching this, you matter. You matter to me. You matter to so many people who love you. And I hope you matter to you. So I hope to see you next Monday. So glad that you all joined me. Love you lots. Bye.